The Amflow PL Carbon is the electric mountain bike that everybody is talking about, and no wonder. It's the first e-bike to feature the outrageously powerful DJI Avinox motor, though with claimed weights of around 20 kilos, it's not that much heavier than traditional lightweight e-bikes on the market like the specialised Levo SL and the Focus Jam Squared SL. Furthermore, the pricing in Australia is quite competitive, so what's the catch? We've been testing the Amflow PL Carbon over the past couple of months to see how it compares to some of the best e-bikes on the market and whether, in fact, it's too good to be true. The Amflow PL Carbon is a premium e-bike that's designed for all-round trail riding. It comes with a 160mm travel fork, 150mm of rear travel and 29-inch wheels, though thanks to the addition of a flip chip in the linkage, it is mullet compatible. The sleek carbon frame is claimed to weigh just 2.27 kilos without the motor or the shock. Now, to put that number into perspective, that's nearly 700 grams lighter than a non-motorised Trek Fuel EX frame. Amflow is stuck with a tried and tested 4-bar suspension platform that offers fairly neutral kinematics in terms of both anti-squat and anti-rise. Progression is said to be around 21%, and Amflow says you can fit a coil shock, providing that the manufacturer approves it. Fox is one such brand that doesn't recommend fitting a coil to this frame due to the combination of the trunnion mount and the elongated yoke, which can introduce higher side loading on the shock. Of course, the big story with this bike is the DJI Avinox M1 Motor. Weighing in at around 2.5 kilos, this compact drive unit pumps out an incredible 105 Nm of torque and up to 850 watts of peak power in the standard modes. You can select between Eco, Trail, Turbo and Auto, with the latter being an adaptive mode that uses a variety of sensors to vary the motor's power output depending on what you and the terrain are doing. There's also a special boost mode which gives you up to 120 Nm of torque and 1000 watts of peak power for a 30-second burst. Fueling the motor is either a 600 or 800 watt-hour battery, both of which are very light for their given size. The battery is bolted into the frame and isn't designed to be easily removable. However, DJI claims the 800 watt-hour battery takes just 90 minutes to charge from 0 to 75%, which is very quick. Up at the cockpit, there are 2 wireless controllers for changing the motor's assist modes and switching screens on the top tube display. Using the same 2-inch OLED touchscreen as a DJI Osmo Action camera, the display offers a high-quality feel and plenty of data at your fingertips. Of course, there's an app too, which allows you to perform software updates, as well as tune the motor's power output and even adjust the amount of overrun. At the rear axle is a wired speed sensor and a metal disc that bolts onto the brake rotor. This provides the sensor with 42 points of reference per revolution of the rear wheel, offering a vastly higher sample rate compared to most other e-bike systems that typically only measure 1 point of reference. Geometry on the Amflow PL Carbon is in the ballpark for a modern do-it-all e-bike. We've got a 64.5-degree head angle, a 77-degree effective seat tube angle, and our size large test bike gets a 475mm reach. There's a 445mm rear center length, which is the same on all 4 frame sizes. Now, taller riders will be happy to see a double extra large, though unfortunately shorter riders are out of luck because there is currently no small size available. Another important note on geometry is the relatively tall and interrupted seat tube. Although we could fully insert the Fox transfer dropper into the frame, the cable actuator at the base of the post actually fouls on the inside of the seat tube, rendering it ineffective. As such, some riders may have to run a shorter travel dropper post than what they prefer. There are currently 2 Amflow PL Carbon models with prices starting at $9,399 Australian dollars. Our test bike is the more expensive Pro option, which is available with either a 600 or 800 watt-hour battery. It's the latter option that we've got, and the current retail price on this is 14 grand. It comes with a Fox 36 Grip X2 fork and a Flodex shock. There's a SRAM XO transmission, Magura MT7 brakes, Amflow's own carbon wheel set and Maxxis XO Plus tyres with an assegai on the front and a dissector on the rear. Confirmed weight for our Amflow PL Carbon Pro test bike is 20.42 kilos, and as usual, that's without pedals and with the tyres set up tubeless. Now, we were lucky enough for this to be one of the first bikes in the country. Being a size large, we put it into the hands of our enduro and e-bike tester Dan, who's been thrashing it over the past couple of months. If you're keen to know more about Dan's experience of sizing and suspension setup, I'll put a link to the full review in the video description below. To summarise, Dan's been super impressed with the sheer power of of the DJI Avinox motor. With up to 1,000 watts on tap, the way this bike accelerates up to speed is frankly bonkers. There is noticeably more support compared to a Bosch CX or a Shimano EP801 motor, which is very apparent on the climbs. In fact, Dan reckons this is the best climbing e-bike that he has ever tested. There's good traction thanks to the sensitive suspension and the dual 29-inch wheels, and the short 155mm crank arms provide plenty of ground clearance. Only the rear tyre lets the team down when the trail gets loose or the conditions are wet, as it doesn't take much for the powerful motor to exceed the available grip. It isn't just about the climbs though, as the Amflow PL Carbon is a very competent descender as well. Compared to a traditional full-powered e-bike, the lower weight makes it easier to manage and more manoeuvrable through tight single track. Along with the neutral geometry and the supportive suspension, it's a dynamic and playful bike to ride. For that reason, Dan didn't necessarily feel the need to try it out as a mullet. The 29er setup certainly lends to this bike's character as an all-round trail ripper, and the larger rear wheel provides more grip for tackling technical climbs. Still, it is great to have that wheel size flexibility baked into this frame for shorter riders looking for more clearance. The flip chip gives you around 10mm of BB height adjustment, which will almost offset the difference when running a 27.5-inch rear wheel. As for downsides, we can't say there were too many issues with our test bike. The DJI motor is smooth and responsive on the trail, and the overall noise level while pedaling is relatively low. Unfortunately, there is some rattle on the descents. It's not as prominent as a Bosch SX or a Shimano EP8 motor, but it is louder than a TQ. That aside, it's worth acknowledging that not everyone will want or need the amount of power that this motor can churn out. We'd actually recommend that less experienced riders avoid the higher assist modes, as it can be quite unnerving how quickly this bike accelerates on tight and twisty single track. It also means that if you're riding around town or on a fire road, you end up hitting that 25k cutoff point a lot faster, which can be annoying. Sure, you can detune the motor's output in the app, but we reckon it's pretty unlikely that anyone's actually going to do that. Now, while the Amflow PL Carbon does a lot of things well, it's worth stipulating that this isn't designed for the absolute gnarliest trails out there. Due to the frame being very lightweight, heavier riders are likely to encounter more chassis flex when loading up the bike into high-speed berms and jumps. Those riding on rocky terrain will also quickly find the limits of the stock tyres. Ideally, we'd like to see a double-down casing at the rear and preferably a stickier max grip tyre up front. We expect that some folks will be keen to fit a coil shock and perhaps a bigger Fox 38 or a RockShox Zeb, and indeed the frame is rated for use with up to 170mm travel fork. However, this isn't meant to be a full-blown park bike, and we recommend that those riders consider something like a Trek Slash Plus or a Merida E160, which would be better suited for tackling bigger terrain. With that in mind, we reckon there's plenty of room for Amflow to introduce a longer travel model with a beefed up frame and spec. Given the powerful DJI motor, a lot of folks have been asking us about range. To find out, I put the Amflow PL Carbon through our standardized range test to see how much elevation gain we could achieve before the battery ran flat. If you want to see how it compares to all the other e-bikes that we've reviewed, I've put the results into the full review over at flowmountainbike.com. There's also a heap more info in there about the performance of the components on our test bike, as well as a closer look at the finishing details of the frame and the DJI Avinox system. If you're keen to check it out, just click the link in the video description below. To wrap things up, we've been thoroughly impressed with the all-round performance of the Amflow PL Carbon. The DJI motor is incredibly powerful and responsive, and aside from some rattling on the descents, it is relatively quiet and smooth. The user interface is also in a class of its own, and it makes a lot of other e-bikes look antiquated in comparison. Of course, all is well and good with an e-bike until something goes wrong, and ultimately Amflow's success is going to hinge on its backup service and support. Indeed, the main reliability test will come once these bikes are out into the mass market. Given our positive experience so far though, we're excited to see what other brands decide to adopt this motor system, and we're eager to see what Amflow has in store for us in the future. Now, if you've got any questions for us about our experience with the Amflow PL Carbon, make sure you drop those into the comments below. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this video review, and we'll see you next time. Tooroo!